to this final act of the BRU21 conference, the panel debate or the panel discussion. My name is Egil Tjåland. I used to be leading BRU21 before Uteman took over as head of the department, and I am really happy to be here on the stage to talk about something that is really interesting and fascinating. We will now try to probe into some of the themes that you already discussed today, but into a little bit more depth. So one of the things that we have been discussing, and one of the things that I think we all care about, is this new word, digitalization. And digitalization, I think first time I heard it, that was yeah. I think you mentioned that in a conference in Sao Paulo, actually. I never heard about it before. I don't, when was the first time you heard about the digitalization as a word?
Probably like 10 years ago or so. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I believe him.
So my question is, I mean, that is it's kind of a, it sounds like it's a little bit bad, it's like a buzzword, right? Everyone talks about digitalization. You can go to any taxi driver, they will know about digitalization. So the question is, what is it all about? What is the difference? What changed when we used 10 years ago, when digitalization came on board? What did that change? What kind of, what did it change? Start with you, Given.
Well, I think maybe the first time I heard about it and putting some context into it, I think it was mostly about changed work processes. It was about how could you use new tools, and it wasn't that really that advanced tools or anything like that, but it was more how to gather data and use the data in a new way and just like work permit systems, how can you better use that in collect it and use it, summarize this, make sense out of it. So that was my first meeting with digitalization. It's probably more than 10 years ago, actually.
Alenka, you have a PhD in psychology. And I heard that you worked on such things. And that was probably before, 10 years ago. So what is new here? I mean, is this just a new wrapping of something old?
I would say from my experience is very good from that perspective that we are now today not asking ourselves anymore what is digitalization, because there are two expressions all the time. And students and all us, we are just using. Of course, we have there is a big vision that we are, and mission that we should be focused on sustainability, and we are focused on sustainability, and the other focus is digitization. And those two focuses are somehow integrated in the system, so we are not asking ourselves anymore about that, but we are just using. And from my experiences, research experiences, because my background is not only psychology, but also civil engineering, so my students, they are a part of they have to focus on transformation of the cities, buildings, whatever. So they use all these tools, and they're improving tools all the time. And from psychological view, it means if we want to make any changes, visualization is really perfect to use as a tool and to show what digitization can also be somehow performed.
Thanks, Alenka. And Gunnar from Cognite, you have a living, you make a living out of this digitalization. It's big business.
It's true, yes.
So what is very different with your industry than other industries when it comes to digitalization and core business?
I think we focus very much on the industrial side of digitalization. So digitalization became successful more in the consumer industry very early. So if you look at Google, for instance, it has been insanely successful using data to make some sort of decisions, improvement kind of like when they find advertisements for you. If you search for something on the net, it starts to give you that same advertisement every time you go into that page, which is really annoying because if you buy Christmas present for your wife, then she will see what you bought by just looking at the web page. It's very different for industry. So with so many companies, they came from the consumer market, tried to do the same thing in industry. They failed. So we are really trying to do the same thing as Google did, but for the industrial data.
So Knut, you work for the biggest company in among the Nordic countries, at least Northern Europe, maybe. Stavanger, absolutely. So you have kind of implemented digitalization throughout the company. Is that right, or is that an ambition, or what is the strategy?
I think at least digitalization means something different from the technical thing. So digitalization, at least how we use it, is when we truly integrate to create that energy product that we like to sell. So digitalization in an oil and gas company, digital is an enablement, an instrument in order to become a better energy producer. So I think digitalization is very different than, call it the technical IT, programming, all of this stuff, away from the professionals into the management, into the senior level. And I think that was the difference when we started using the word digitalization as opposed to software development.
Well, let me follow up on that one, because I have been to other conferences here called the I/O conference, the Integrated Operation. Is digitalization I/O, Integrated Operation 2.0?
You start with me. I would say that digitalization is an emphasis. And you can say it's the same, but it's an emphasis on the business impact. And of course, integrated operation was the same. A lot of things that we did previously was the same. But this word, digitalization, came as a result of, we need to emphasize this on a management. When we are truly digitalized, that's when this is the way we work. This is the way we do things. And instrumented and enabled by digital means.
Gunnar, you work with strategies and scenarios and I don't know, TDAs, you call it, all these kind of groups, and you group things and you look and focus on what's going on. When are we going to throw out the digitalization and put in something like 3.0?
For right now, we are talking about digitalization, and some people they want to throw in 3.0, 3.7, and 4.0, and whatever. But we are using the word digitalization now. But as I said in my presentation earlier today, digitalization has a lot to do not only with technologies, very fancy new technologies. It has even more to do, I think, with data, making sense out of data, and the organizational part of it, the change, the willingness to change, and the ability to change within organizations, and that's maybe one of the, I would say, a bigger challenge from what I've heard.
So, Lenka, since we are going back to this psychology path, because we're talking about human beings transformed in a way. That is normally a big challenge, isn't it? I mean, from a psychological point of view, to change habits. Isn't that very hard?
It is very hard. That's true. But then we are using many different approaches and methods. For example, we want to motivate people. For example, in my research path, we are working more with the existing environment and how we want to transform these existing, let's say, cities, neighborhoods, buildings toward more sustainable. So it's a long path, and on the other side it's very, very short, because we have Trondheim put vision that we have to be zero emission or to use all this transformation towards zero emission neighborhoods until 2030. So 2030 is tomorrow. And it means that then we have to do everything what we can and to use all technologies I mentioned before, BIM, digital twins, AI, whatever we can to change the perception on the problems and challenges and to change toward becoming citizens, to become actively involved and to participate, so to work with these participatory approaches. And this is a huge work also from that perspective.
So Gunnar, you actually also, I guess, face challenges when you are going to kind of transform a company or give advice and so on. And in my perception, I thought that meant to read through PDFs or handwritten notes maybe into digital. That's not the biggest problem? Maybe what is the biggest challenge you say? Is that kind of changing people or changing PDFs to Word?
So I think we know how to handle the technical challenges. So there are some challenges that we still are trying to solve when it comes to models, etc. We discussed that quite a lot today. But I think the adaptation is the hardest. We see that quite often. There are many reasons why solutions are not adopted. Some people are, I wouldn't call them lazy, but it's a little bit convenient not to change because you have to learn something new. You have to figure out if you can trust the system. Some solutions are not adapted because they don't trust them. So we have to remember that what we do in digitalization, so as you said, digitalization is not the goal, it's a tool. It's a tool to allow us to make better decisions. It's a decision support. It means that advice, you need to trust it. So how do you build that trust? Today, I see many companies they don't fully acknowledge that they have to build that trust. The model needs to be correct, and it also needs to be correct tomorrow. We actually talked about that in another session here, the so-called evergreen model. Can you deliver a model that is correct today, but also correct in a month? Or will it stop working when the people that deliver it run away? That's also one of the reasons why we see that they don't adopt solutions.
That's a very interesting aspect because, let's say, in Equinor, Knut, there's a wide age spread, I guess. Does that mean that you need to put in, there's a lot of young faces here, right? Do we need the young faces to replace the old faces in order to implement and get over that hurdle that we just heard Gunnar talk about?
At least we need the new faces to complement the old faces, so that we can get new talents on board and new ways of thinking. But I do think there is a gap in the traditional oil and gas and energy business and call it whatever they are new or old, but they are more digital savvy. And there is a gap, and that gap is still very predominant in our company and in the industry. And that means that is an inhibitor in order to enable those processes, in order to change those work practices, because we are so embedded in this is the way we're going to do it. And then there is a gap. And then there is a communication gap because we don't speak the same language, we don't have the same anticipation how to progress and a solution, making it digital, both in technical sense and in work process sense. So it's a huge gap, and that gap is very predominant still.
Alenka?
I would like to add something. I totally agree with you, and I agree with your very honest answer. Yes, we need a younger generation. And this is what we can see, younger generation, they're quick. They have those, they're born with different skills regarding using all these tools. But there is also, we have to connect with the knowledge of seniors and experiences to be guided in the right way. So it's this is kind of collaboration is very important.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and it is combining that domain knowledge that we have. We have fantastic domain knowledge in our industry, and but the data science understanding is probably not up to speed. So that's why I'm so concerned about, or so concerned about that we bring the more mature people maybe, or the people that have the senior people in our industry up to speed on this. And it's not easy, because it could be, you know, it's a huge gap. It's quite intimidating to go into that space. So we need good programs, and I think that collaboration with the universities on this is going to be quite critical for us.
Good.
Yeah, just sure. I think still people from university are digital analphabets. So that means that some of your courses need to change, yeah, and academia, because there is a gap between the institute, between the different, and that is also a gap.
I forgot to say that you have a background in computational engineering.
Yeah, so I'm very digital, but I'm old.
You know.
Yeah, I just want to support what you're saying. So it's extremely important to get the engineers or the senior engineers on board. So we've seen that several times. The most successful project is where you actually get the seniors directly involved in the project, because then they are part of that development. They are part of the validation of the solution. So once that solution is delivered, they already trust it. If you just hand them a black box, it will never happen. And they're actually quite happy when we help them understand it, because they want to learn, but sometimes it's a little bit intimidating if you just hand them something that they never seen before and with no documentation of what this really is.
Okay.
I will just reflect on the one answer before. I don't agree with you that at university we are dinosaurs in computer science. Yes, on university we have to build the knowledge, so we have to start with foundation and to go on. But I agree with you, and this is also innovation role to collaborate more and with industry. If we want to bring new innovators, inventions, whatever, we have to collaborate very close to each other, and also to invite industry to come to our academic isolated environment and to give some knowledge or skills.
Thank you, Alenka, for kind of moving into an interesting direction here, because it's okay that we do the right things and we find the right people, but will the people you are talking about, young or old, will they come to our business, if you like, oil and gas? Because, you know, maybe they would like something other, greener things. Gunnar, you said something about that in your speech today.
I said something about that. I think it's, we have a reputational problem. And I give you an example from my own life, my own family. My daughter, she is a student here at NTNU, and she had, like most of other students after the first and second year, she had big problems getting a summer job. And she asked me if I could provide her with some contacts, with some names, and I did. And I sent it to her, and I got a phone back from her. Don't you know anyone outside of the oil and gas business? and she's, you know, she's brought up in the oil and gas business, and so even she had, you know, this notion about it's a dinosaur industry or whatever. But I think she eventually got a job. Actually, she got a summer job with Cognite, and she saw that, you know, what she was asked to do, to program machine learning into a robot, that was really meaningful. She was solving important problems, identifying oil leaks, and, you know, and also saw that, you know, with a company that also has an ambition to transition into other industries. You know, that's also something that, you know, provides an opportunity for you know, not being stuck in our industry, but it's opening up also for other industries.
It was quick, I think.
Energy company, sorry about that. So I think it helps that the oil and gas industry is sort of transitioning into energy in general. And then it's not sort of binary between oil and gas and renewables. There is this gradual transition, because now, for instance, Equinor is trying to power some of their assets with windmills, right? It's a good example.
So if I can pick,
But now it's
I love
simply
that.
kind of, I have to, now the discussion starts.
because I do think that is also that digital can help, is that energy transition. That oil and gas is part of a bigger energy system. And this energy system, Equinor needs to reinvent itself, so its oil and gas business is part of a bigger energy systems. And digital is one of the key enablers. And companies like yourself can enable that. So I do think that, I don't know if that's a cool gadget that attracts young people, but I do think that oil and gas is part of something bigger. And that bigger is interesting. And it's very digital.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm from Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, so we are performing a lot of other systems as well. And what is going on now, on the different levels. One level is, of course, what technology can do and how to transfer from one field to another and to use the knowledge, for example. We are now dealing with positive energy districts, different solar energy and different kinds. From the other side, which I see very interesting from our perspective, and what you mentioned before, psychology, and you mentioned also the children. We are going on the lowest level possible to discuss with children on different levels, to show them how they can become decision makers, to understand sustainability from 3 pillars, to make decision choices. So when I say from early start, it means from the first years of primary school. So it's to grow up with something now they're collecting in different way and sorting the trash. So it is just to become a part of their life. And this is something what is also important and also innovative in a way.
But you see, that is actually what has happened here. So your
Yes.
story, is that your daughter, she's brought up with all those things that you just mentioned now, Alenka. And when she sees kind of some, like the bad things, it's not good. But when you see something that is perceived as good, and I understand that you said gadgets, gadget that's a cool thing, right? But it has to do without, but you're doing gadgetry within the oil and gas. So you're hiding it or something.
So we use it for more in oil and gas.
Yeah, it can be used for more in oil and gas.
Yeah, so we use it in manufacturing and a lot of power producers actually. So remote inspection of power production plants.
Just one question. I saw that Equinor was the most popular company in Norway now when it comes to young people. You saw that in the newspaper? Number 1. I think they have been number 1 for the last 30 years or something, but now it was number 1 on all measures, if you like. That does not rhyme very well with what I heard now. Is that because of, why is that? Could it be something with the high money,
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen this.
It's true.
I do think that we are part of the solution. We are part of we are someone who can be changed. And that means that if you are into Equinor, you can be part of that transition. And I think that is visible for people, that there is a wholehearted effort to go to a low carbon future. That is in our strategy. That is where the money. Yes, it's not where we make our money yet, but it's still a very visible focus for the company. So I think being part of that solution, hopefully that can attract young talents.
In your scenarios and so on, I can't remember, did you put also up this employment of young people? Is that one of the pillars?
It's one of the things that we've put up as a big challenge that needs to be addressed. And I'm really happy to see that, you know, the kind of efforts that Equinor is doing, that's paying dividends, that it's becoming more attractive to work in the oil and gas industry. And I think that has a lot to do with the branding of Equinor as a broader energy company. And I think that's something the industry really needs to do, is that we need to demonstrate that we are part of the whole energy mix. Nothing can be separated out. It's all interconnected. You know, it's renewables are interconnected with oil and gas now through electrification. CCS is gonna be a very important element. That's something that's coming out of our industry. Hydrogen, blue hydrogen is something that we are gonna do. Even, you know, offshore wind is something that's relying on what we are developing in our industry. So it's all interconnected, and we need to communicate that we are a part of the big energy system that needs to be optimized, and so that everyone and societies can get affordable energy, secure energy with a low footprint.
I think you had your hand up, so.
Yeah, I agree with you, totally agree with you, and I like let's say, I will say in different way. When you ask why young people want to go to Equinor, and you answered that it is a kind of, let's say, challenges or solution part of to being part of solution. Yes, this is the right answer. Young people, they're so excited to be a part. Is it hydrogen or whatever, or digital, whatever? They are more focused today to work with interesting projects than to be permanent employed for, I don't know, next 40 years in the company just for their security, to be just a part. Agree? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you know, just to also to build on that is that we have to be careful that we deliver on our promise. But it's also, you know, so that people are not disappointed when they come into our industry, that they really get to work with important solutions. But there are also very important solutions related to subsurface. For instance, water management. You know, water management, you know, is one of the biggest power consumers on the Norwegian continental shelf today. And we are going to reduce CO2 emissions with 50% by 2030. And water management, reducing the need for power for water management is so critical. So, you know, that's also something that we need to communicate to people. It's not just about windmills and CCS. We have also lots of solutions that people don't today maybe connect with reducing CO2 emissions, but certainly are a very important element.
So that brings us into something which is a core part of BRU21, that is innovation. So innovation is also one of those buzzwords, right? I guess innovation is part of your company's internal wheels.
Yes.
So how do you develop innovation in your company, Cognite?
So we're very problem-oriented. So we, instead of just developing a solution to a problem that we hope exists, we spend a lot of time talking to clients to understand what is actually their biggest problem. Then we develop the technology needed to solve those problems. There are a lot of problems that needs to be solved. We try to tackle the most challenging problems first. So that involves both the data foundation, so getting the data you need. It involves the methods, so how do you interpret and analyze the data? How do you present a solution that actually gives the engineers an actionable advice? So not give them a number between 0 and 1, which he can't make any decision based on, but actually tell them, this is what is the problem. If you do like this and that, you can mitigate. This is uncertainty, etc., etc. So that's where we spend a lot of time and effort.
So you don't go for the lowest hanging fruit, you go for the highest hanging fruit.
Highest value, but least time, hopefully.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So in Equinor, you, I guess you do a lot of innovative work, innovation. How much has that changed the company by being innovative?
Yeah, I don't know. Innovation happens on many levels. So there is one innovation level on the operational side, to have this lean approach, to have some innovation where you are working. So that is one level. Then we have innovation on a sort of a trying to utilize startups, academia, sort of systematically embrace it, trying to implement it. As it's been said here, implementation is the challenge sometimes, but to have that open ears to that and to facilitate that. And I think how much has it changed? It had changed a lot of concrete stuff, in a sense that new ways of hooking up pipelines to a boat, new ways to understand optimization from the subsurface to the facility. There is innovation happening everywhere, and currently trying to understand how to capture carbon into those reservoirs. So I think that happens all over the place. And where is innovation? Where is progress? I don't really know.
So, Lenka, you have a position, Vice Dean for Innovation. So innovation also happens at NTNU. So how do you actually, what do you do in order to get all the young talents and old talents maybe at NTNU for innovation, let's say like that?
It is a good question, and of course there is a system which we build now, and it started in the past. So we work with ecosystem of innovation. What does it mean? It means that we are working on all three levels which are important for innovation. One is education, innovation in education, innovation in research, and the highest one is in innovation connected with commercialization. What is slight weaknesses so far on the faculty level? That we are from on the groundbreaking research, we are excellent, yeah? And we could also see many things happening today and also in the corridor, outside. But when, let's say, our students, PhD students finish, or master students, when they finish our university, we like, as our traditional professor, just to put on the shelves all these master thesis and PhD thesis work done. So the weakness is not in how good we are in science, the weakness is how we are bringing this science out of the university, and we want to strengthen, to commercialize and to show the society, look, this is what we are the best, and we share with you. So yeah. This is the emphasis somehow.
Yeah, because it takes resources to do all these things, right? It costs money. Yeah. So the question is now, how should we manage the restricted money we've got? Should we concentrate it very much on the educational level, lower? I mean, let's say from first to fourth year or fifth year and then PhD? Or should we put it into companies that will do it, like in Cognite, or should we put it into the other companies, if you like? Are we? Is it the ambition that 10% of our students at NTNU should start their own company? Would that be? Is it possible?
I don't know. But if I can ask a question that I hope that you will ask me, answer a question that I would like to answer, then it's on innovation, developing knowledge, developing technology. The value of that technology or that new knowledge is being realized when the product is put into use or being scaled. And that is what we see as a really, really big challenge, that we are really too slow in adopting new technologies. Often it takes many, many years to do that. We are quite good at maybe piloting new things and maybe first use, but then it takes forever to really to scale it. and that is management responsibility, we think, to have that stamina to take that further. Yeah.
But that's quite discouraging, right? Because it takes an ever, I mean, that is bad news for Alenka, trying to get kind of this out of NTNU. It takes an eternity of time to get it happening. I saw some hands there, Knut, you would like to say something?
Yeah, I would say yes. I don't know the number, but if we can have, one of the problems we have is that interesting things happens in academia, and it takes some time to be on a level where you can onboard it in the industry. And sometimes that is a startup. Sometimes that is somebody with the knowledge that nurture this, and hopefully companies like Equinor will foster that and support that. But it takes some time before you have some kind of insight into academia, before it's applicable into industry. So yes, if that is a mean to do that, that's really valuable. So I don't know if it's 10%, 50%.
No, it's just a number. But in Cognite is also innovation one of those buzzwords that really attract young talents. When you advertise for jobs and so on, is it kind of the same footing as digitalization and so on? We do digitalization and innovation and so on, so they said yes.
Yeah, definitely. So innovation is something that attracts and also impact. So impact both when it comes to developing new things, but actually putting it to use. So we are very close to the people that actually put things to use. So as you said, things is valuable when it actually is used, either for making a decision or actually the new equipment is put into production. So since we are so close to the end users, the impact that people feel they have in Cognite is one of the reasons why we attract a lot of people.
Yeah, so you are working in what we call the tech industry, right? I guess.
Applied tech.
Applied tech, sorry, yeah. But I associate tech industries with Silicon Valley and so on, and there's a huge innovation going on there. Why is Norway not at that level, Gunnar?
So, but we are at that level in some respect in our domains, I would say. You know, Cognite is an example of new companies. There are other companies, other startups that have grown quite fast. You see from some of the centers here at NTNU, there are lots of spin-offs. I like the Amos Center, for instance. It's a basic research center and lots of spin-offs, lots of companies coming out of that. So I think we are quite good. We have good clusters, good industry cluster with good institutions, good universities, and good collaboration between the various stakeholders in that cluster.
But not all those venture capitalists driving around in fancy cars.
Yeah, I agree. We're actually quite good at innovation in Norway. So if you look at Silicon Valley, we have to remember it's a massive country. We're 5 million people in Norway. They have, how many lives in the US? 350? Yeah, so of course Silicon Valley is bigger than the entire Norway, almost. But we do develop a lot. One good example is the industry I came from, which was a physics simulator for multi-phase flow. So we have someone from SINTEF here as well. So the 3 biggest simulators used by oil and gas for pipe flow comes from Norway. So it's a good example of a lot of innovation that's done in Norway. So I think there's a lot of these hidden jewels that people are not aware of.
So we're sitting on a pile of gold, but we don't realize it ourselves.
I think we realize it. But you know, what was the biggest invention that from that Aftenposten? I think that was the multi-flow simulator coming out of IFE and partly SINTEF. I think originally. And we have Petrel, you know, as a very good example, 80% of the world market. We have seismic technology, 50% of the world market or something. You know, so we are really leading in some of these areas.
So Alenka, when you are looking for the strategy, it seems like you have some ambitions and so on, and now we are through the pandemic and you can go to, is the Silicon Valley the first place you will go to now?
You're very close. I was in New York and I talked about MIT, so I connected with them. But let's say I will just go back to your 10% of money here. And money is bringing money, especially in innovation area. So what we are doing now, we are strengthening the culture, innovation culture at the faculty level, and of course at the NTNU, university level. And that means that we are also working with students and accelerators, starting up Discovery and the others. So we are bringing, going out and showing what we, each department, which is somehow has been done so far, what is possible to do, and our students, they're one of the best. We heard today, we saw the presentation today of one group of students, the other group of students, they're working with rocket science, the other group of students with different vehicles. So we are really good, but we are not showing that in a way that we are not telling to the world, oh, we are the best in this.
You have to
so
talk more to
this
Gunnar.
marketing,
So you have to talk to Gunnar. He knows a lot about these kind
Yes,
of
we
dual
have
stuff.
to-
You have to listen to.
Yeah.
Put them up. So yeah. Okay.
I would just say that Silicon Valley is one place to learn, but there's other places as well. Why don't we look to Asia? Why don't we look? There's a huge growth in the economy. This is something to learn from there. So we can't be Silicon Valley as because of many of the reasons told here, but there are also other places to learn from, and we should learn from them as well.
Good point. So I mean, I raised money as one issue. Like maybe money is good for promoting students to work and so on, and money is not good if you don't have enough of it when you are going to do innovation. Are there other bottlenecks you see in order to kind of fulfill the ambitions for innovation and digitalization? Bottlenecks.
I would argue that one of, and this, I was thinking about this as a potential, this horizontal integration, this transformation that we are into now, that this traditional value chain going from oil and gas, where you have suppliers and you have oil companies, etc., is in a change. I think that is a bottleneck. It's a bottleneck now that we are stuck in our old way of thinking how companies collaborate. I think there's a lot of initiatives like Industry 4.0, etc., that are trying to change this, but we are not harnessing that. So I think that that is a bottleneck, that we are stuck in old ways of working as a not only in the company, the biggest potential is across the company.
Yeah. Gunnar first.
Yep. So you asked about the bottlenecks. I think actually relevant for this conference, access to data is really important. So I spent the last 15 years getting access to data. That's basically what I did when I worked in SPT. We need the data to improve the simulators. So it's not like only machine learning needs data, physics simulators need data. But the companies, they don't want to share. They believe this is sort of their the gold mine that will allow them to be much better than everybody else. They think it's the competitive advantage, and maybe it is. But it makes it harder for academia to develop models that actually work. We see a lot of models that's developed on toy problem, but it's a big difference working on synthetic data and working on...
That's why they want to come to Equinor.
Exactly.
You have the data.
You have the data. So to work on real messy data, that's a very big difference. And also, there is a lot of potential to collaborate on data between the companies. I see now that they have started discussing data that's relevant for HSE. It's obviously an area where everybody wants to share. When it comes to maximizing production, they are more careful about everything related to HSE. There's a drive now to try to share it.
You are alluding to intellectual property problems also here.
Is the data always intellectual property, or is it the understanding or the models, or what is intellectual
I don't know you. Yeah,
I'd just like to say also data, but also vertical integration. direction in terms of standards. So we need to, in order to work together better, we also need those standards in place so that we know what we are talking about, know what to exchange, know the thing. So let's also come together and embrace some of those standards that are in place, because that is an enabler and it's a bottleneck now because it's too tedious to give data available to somebody. Should I really spend half a year making data available for?
Yeah, but I guess the problem is now making more out of cooperation by sharing data. But since you are using valuable data, that is as a key source of information for a company as a competitive edge, I guess. So now, have you discussed this in BRU21?
Certainly. So we've tried all the time to understand barriers to innovation, and business models is one of those, of course, and how you contract models and all that data, how you share data. But I totally agree with Cognite on this. It's the, sharing data is, I think, it shouldn't be that problematic. It's more making insight out of that data. That's where you have your competitive edge. So, but then, that data that you are going to share, it needs to be on a readable format without any flaws, and it's any bias in the data and so forth, and that's where the collaboration in the industry comes in, where we really need to collaborate on it. Yeah.
Yeah, please just comment on that.
Yeah, that's where I think the advantage is for sharing, because if Equinor suddenly needs to operate in the area where you don't have internal data, it's very useful for you to go to BP and Shell and get relevant data for them. Then you could reduce the uncertainty when you're doing drilling, for instance, and then you will share similar data to the other companies. So by having the data, what you do is to figure out that the tools that the industry is providing is wrong, but that doesn't help you make it right. So the only thing you know is that the prediction is wrong. Is that really a competitive advantage, or is it better to actually get a tool that is better? It will help everybody, but it will actually also help you better.
I think we'll come back to you, Alec.
Yeah, I just pick up on Gunnar's point on business model. If we save 20% by drilling a well, somebody is losing that money. So these business models, so it's Equinor saves money by not paying a supplier because we did something better. That is the business model that is wrong. That is, we don't work the same motivation. So I think the business models have to change as well.
I think we have to give Alenka first and then Gunnar. Yes,
what I wanted to say is something is intellectual property, right? But we, as a university, we have to go out with everything. So we are much more open source oriented. We want to share with others, and especially with society. Industry 4, and we are connecting also with STEM. STEM is standing for science, technology, energy, mathematics, but we want to expand it. So now we are talking STEM 5, STEM 6, whatever. So we want to take creative fields also into that, like art, or entrepreneurial fields, like from innovation also perspective, just to be more efficient what we are doing, and also using on this industry for all these data and possibilities to really quickly change and also expand the knowledge and everything which we are doing.
I see that sign that we should start to go in for a landing here. So, but before you do that, you had a comment?
Yeah, just a very small comment to what Knut said, and it's about new business models or changing business models. It's about value sharing, because if you're not able to demonstrate that you want to share value, the supplier are probably more interested in keeping that old type of system where they get paid for per hour or per service item or whatever.
So I think that was the last in that discussion, last point in discussion. Good. And now I have a challenge. I know being a teacher is one of these challenges. It's very dangerous to be in front, you know. So could you make a 1 minute, small, just 1 minute comment each of you? What is the advice you would give to BRU21 for the next 5 years? Who would like to start? Alenka, quick. 1 minute.
I will be very short. I could see some presentation today, and I will just say keep going with it. Be encouraged. If you need any help from us, contact us and go. Really, we are here to strengthen your work.
Very good, Gunnar.
I think it's very important to being able to communicate that what you are doing is also addressing the climate change challenge.
Yeah. Who would like to do the 1 minute? Yeah.
I would push hard on the industry to get tighter collaboration. So it looks like you already have a good collaboration, but I would push even harder for it because it is about making sure you work on the problems that's relevant and you work on problems that they can actually put into action, such that it doesn't become a paper version on a shelf somewhere. Make sure it is a problem that will be used at some point. That's where the value is.
And Akil, you got the last word.
Yes, thank you. And I don't know very much about exactly the BRU21, so I won't pretend. But I do think that whatever you do it in a way that is transferable. The communication, as I said here, try to think about something that can be adopted by someone. Doesn't need to be Equinor, can be somebody else, maybe your own startup. But try to, if you want to go into industry, you should also think about product design.
Thank you very much to the panel, and give them a big hand.